there's a lot of major rocks in this story of things to overcome. But my husband was the primary breadwinner for our family. And we had a construction company when we lived in Calgary. He was a farmer and then a construction worker his whole life. He's used to, that hard labor kind of lifestyle, enjoys it. It was very successful. And my husband got a multiple sclerosis diagnosis.
Be confident, be bold, be authentic, but don't forget to take action. This is Ordinary to Badass, where our stories empower women to step into the spotlight of their own lives and pursue what they're truly passionate about. It's time to step into the arena and become more than just extraordinary. It's time to become a badass with your host, Marie Sonneman.
Welcome to Ordinary to Badass, episode number 247. In this episode, you're going to hear from Melissa Klassen. Melissa teaches dance teachers how to become acrobatic instructors. So much greatness in her story. She shares how she went from gymnastics to dance to acro dance, or gymnastics to acro dance, but she had to learn dance in the meantime as an adult. So that's pretty badass, right? But just her story and the hardships she's faced and moving from Canada to Nicaragua, so much greatness. And I always appreciate her confidence and her positivity. But this episode's so good. And I will tell you that sometimes when you hear things, it's the exact time that you need to hear them. So even when I went back and I was editing this episode and Melissa's talking about controlling things and just letting it go, and it's a good reminder, we can't control every single detail of our life. And some of them, we just have to let it go and hope that it comes back to us, or it's not all in our hands. So give it a listen. If you love this episode as much as I did, then head on over to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating and review. With that, let's get to it. Welcome to Ordinary to Badass. Whether you're ordinary or badass, I am so glad you're here. Today's guest is Melissa Klassen. Melissa, thank you so much for being here. Excited to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here too.
So before we go any further, I've got to ask you, do you consider yourself ordinary or badass?
I consider myself to be totally badass. Thank you for asking.
I love it. I love when people just own it. So has that been something that you've always felt, or has it come with time?
Definitely come with time. I have not always felt that way, but I've grown into it now.
Was there any defining moment or a series of events?
I would say it's definitely been a series of events, different things that really tested me, tested my thoughts about myself, my worth, what I was capable of. And several of those became defining moments for me, which have culminated to the entrepreneur and businesswoman and overall badass that I consider myself to be now. So
I can't wait to dig in and to find out more. But first, will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, my name is Melissa Klassen, and I'm a Canadian currently living in Nicaragua with my family. And I've got 2 kids, a son and a daughter, 15 and 12 years old. And I have a gymnastics background, and I am a teacher of acrobatic dance. It's like gymnastics for dancers. And what I do now is I teach dance teachers how to become acrobatics instructors with my whole online certification and coaching program. It's called the Acro Dance Teachers Association.
So how did you get into acro?
Well, I started off as a gymnast, and acro is really it's a genre of dance in the dance industry. And I wasn't a dancer growing up. I was a gymnast, but we always did a lot of dance. I was kind of a dancey gymnast, I guess you could say. And when I was in college, I didn't realize I was an entrepreneur until a little bit later. But I was always looking for how I could make jobs my own. And I was teaching gymnastics while going to college. And I was teaching gymnastics in the gymnastics club, not for profit. And I was also teaching gymnastics in a dance studio for profit, and saw the difference in wage between the two. And I was making 3 times as much in a for-profit job. And so I started leaning into that, and I got into the dance industry. And this was before I had kids, and I realized I needed to learn some basic dance to be able to blend into this world. And so I took as many classes as I could. I learned how to dance later in life, in my 20s, and I crossed over from the gymnastics world into the dance industry in this new genre called Acro dance. And I had this amazing boss who was really cutting edge, and I worked for this performing arts company, and he had this big show. So he was the choreographer for this huge show. It's called the Grandstand Show. And if you're from Calgary, Canada, you know what the Grandstand Show is. It's part of the Calgary Stampede. It's the biggest outdoor show on earth, they call it, $4 million show. And it's all with local talent. So dancers, singers, performing artists. And I was running the gymnastics department. And my boss at the time, his name was Brian Foley, he really wanted to start this new thing called Acro dance. So it was kind of like gymnastics, but more artistic and less athletic looking, less sporty looking. And he could either take his gymnastics coach and teach her how to dance, or he could take one of his dance teachers and teach them gymnastics. And I got that amazing opportunity. And he set me up with the best of the best in the dance industry. And I crossed over in about 2 years. I crossed over from gymnastics coach to Acro dance coach. And everybody wanted to know how to teach Acro. This was in Western Canada, and hardly anybody even knew what that meant. And so I started getting jobs, and different dance studios were hiring me to be able to teach this new Acro dance, because I had a background in gymnastics. I knew how to spot tricks. I knew how to catch students if they fall, like that's a skill set that takes time to get. And so their dance teachers didn't know how to do that, but they still wanted to be able to offer Acro. So I was working for this group, the performing arts group called the Young Canadians, big gig. Plus I was teaching at 4 other dance studios, and it was too much. And I was about to start having a family, and I was trying to streamline my life. And I said, like, to all these teachers who wanted to learn, dance teachers, why don't I just teach you guys how to do it? And so I did. I started teaching teachers along with teaching my students Acro dance. And that's really how I got into it. I had the background in gymnastics, and I merged into Acro dance, and I started teaching more and more teachers. And that's how my syllabus, the Acro Dance Teachers Association, was started. And that was 13 years ago.
So how did that feel for you when you were merging from gymnastics to Acro? Was it terrifying going into a new thing, or was it thrilling for you? Tell us about that.
It was completely terrifying. It was exciting because I was into it, because I had always been a dancey gymnast. And I got into dance later in life. And so I loved doing it, but it was so scary because I was so vulnerable. I'm working with the Young Canadians Performing Arts Group, and they audition to get in. They're the best of all the kids because they are auditioning. We had like amazing talent, and they know how to dance. They don't know how to do tricks. And that was where I came in. But gymnastic tricks and Acro dance is 2 different things. One's a sport and one's an art form. So I had to step way out of my comfort zone and learn how to be artistic, learn how to dance, learn how to do choreography. And I made a lot of stupid mistakes, and I looked bad. I looked like I didn't know what I was doing. I was super vulnerable. I wanted to quit every step of the way, but I didn't. I was also competitive because I was a competitive gymnast, and I'm way too competitive to quit. So I just kept going, and I sought the help that I needed, and I just didn't stop. It was terrifying. And probably 2 years, I looked like a complete hack, and I had to work through that. And now I'm a professional Acro dance teacher, and I teach teachers around the world. So it was very scary.
I think that that's so important for us to hear, because it's like, we say somebody looks at you now and they're like, oh, it comes easy for Melissa. That could never be me. It just comes easy for her. But we're seeing after how many years of work, and stuff, time put into practicing and doing the art. So I think that's important for us to hear. And I can absolutely relate to that. I did martial arts, and I thought it was going to be so cool. But like the first, 2 years, I felt awkward and uncomfortable. And I was like, I suck at this. But it's something that sometimes it just takes time, and you have to put in the suck, or the sucky times and get through it. So I love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how was the transition from going to teaching students to teaching teachers, and how did that lead to your business?
Well, first it was really fun because they listened to me. They weren't teenagers, so it was great because I was working with teachers, working with adults, and things were going great. I was really enjoying it. I'm writing my syllabus. I'm in my happy place. I'm still teaching students, but sometimes it can be hard working with teenagers. I worked with teenage boys too, and I had to overcome a lot of different things because I'd only ever worked with girls, and so now I'm working with girls and boys, and these boys are bigger than me, and I'm spotting them and stuff, and so it was good for me, but it was hard. It was a challenge, and I'm dealing with, like hormones and all of that. But with teachers, they're paying to be there. They want to be there. I was really finding my lane, and it was going amazingly well. And then I started, as I'm building my business, when you start a business, you're like blissfully ignorant. And like, I think if I knew what I was in for, I can't, well, knowing that I've overcome it now, yes, I would do it all over again. But in that moment, when things started getting hard, I would have never signed up for that if I would have known what I was in for. So glad that I pushed through, and I've got that competitive nature. But so many times I wanted to quit because I had major obstacles. The first thing that happened to me, it was in the very first year I got started, I had a competitor that turned up. And this competitor was somebody that I knew that I was launching this syllabus, knew that I was pursuing this, and we worked together. Like, I knew this person very well. And basically, I don't know if this has ever happened to you before, when you're getting started with your business and somebody essentially steals your ideas and your work and your copyright information. That completely happened to me, verbatim, down to the wordage. Like, words that I poured over as I'm learning how to become a writer and a copywriter, that I know that I wrote, that somebody else is using to sell the same product as me, stealing my syllabus ideas and presenting them as their own. Like, it was horrifying. I had spent this was my whole life's work. I had been a gymnast my whole life, and then I crossed over and went through that huge, difficult transition and vulnerability. And then I go out on a limb and create this amazing business going well. And all of a sudden, somebody who I knew and trusted stabbed me in the back and started stealing all of my work. And it was terrible. And I didn't have business experience. This had never happened to me before. This other person did have business experience and was able to hit the marketing hard. And I'm just dealing with being a new entrepreneur, and straight out the gate, having so much of my work stolen. It was one of the most difficult times in my life when I first started my business. And so I really had to work through a lot. It was probably 5 years of just working through it and trying not to pay attention and trying to just stay focused, regardless of what was happening. And this competitor was gaining traction, and I was too, but I had a bigger learning curve. And so it's very difficult feeling when you're feeling like you're putting everything into something and somebody else is just waiting for you to produce material that they can use. Like, it was really, really difficult time. And so anyways, I had to overcome that, and I really wanted to quit, but that competitive nature just kept coming back, and that's what really got me through. And it wasn't until later that I actually found Jesus. Our family became Christians, and that was the missing link for me. That gave me the strength and the insight to be able to see what I need to do, how I need to do it, how to overcome this. And it was through the grace of God that I was able to go to the next level and really become successful. And I wasn't able to hit that stride until I did become a Christian. And so I'm so grateful for that. But I have had so many challenges along the way that I've had to overcome. And now that we lean on the Lord, it's all just so doable. And we still have problems, but we're able to work through them. And so I would say that was probably the first major obstacle that I had to overcome. And I'm so glad that I didn't quit, because now things are amazing. I'm able to help dance teachers around the world. I've built my dream business where I'm able to work online, and I can live in Nicaragua for a while with my family. And have that lifestyle. And so I'm just so grateful that I didn't give up and I pushed through that. So
did you ever confront that person, and are they still using your stuff, or what did you do about that situation?
I wouldn't say I've confronted that person. There were times when that person would try to, like send a person to my course to take notes or try to buy some of my products. And I would just not allow that to happen and try to block it any way I could. But that's when I was trying to band-aid every single problem, right? It wasn't until I just rose above that and saw the bigger picture and leaned on the Lord that I didn't need to do that anymore. And so the biggest thing that I learned from that was everything this competitor did, I will do the opposite. And I will put my personality and my personal flavor and style on everything, because you cannot copy that. And so I have, I'm an extrovert. I love people. I'm kind of like one of those, bubbly kind of eternal optimist kind of people. And I just plastered that all over everything. So I created a brand that was fun, light, we work hard, we get results, but we have fun while we're doing it. And that's been everything. And when my competitor, what's the expression? When they zig, I zag. That's exactly what I did. My strategy became, and God showed me this, my strategy became do everything the opposite. You can't trademark a cartwheel or a backflip, okay? But you can trademark your unique way and style. And that's exactly what I did. So that's when I went online with my program. So believe it or not, you can learn how to become an acrobatics teacher online. And we used to do everything live. I did workshops around the world. I traveled all over the place and did these workshops. And that was great for a time, but then there was no follow-up after that. And I was leaving my clients to just, have at it by themselves in the dance studio after a weekend workshop. And that's what my competitor was doing too. And I wasn't willing to do all of the traveling and all of the courses to stay competitive. And so I got the divine inspiration to go online. And we had a lot of people asking us, would you ever consider going online? I was like, I don't see how that would be possible. But then the way was shown, and I went completely online. I spent a year transitioning from what we used to do in a weekend workshop to a whole year of online coaching instead. And I already had the video tutorials and the PDF assets and everything in place to be able to do that. And I spent a year transitioning into a completely online program. And that was a huge risk. You can imagine what kind of potential backlash I was facing if I'm taking an acrobatics teacher's training program from a live weekend workshop to an online certification course. That's hard to do, right? It seems impossible. But once we got into it, we worked with a pilot group, like a founding members group, and we worked out the kinks. Not only was it was working better. But that was a huge risk, a huge risk that paid off big time. I'm so glad I did it. And we've been able to really expand since then and help so many more people. And not only that, now, okay, so my personality, my brand is me and my style, and we do it different online, and that can't be copied. That cannot be duplicated. And side note, I got that all transitioned online a year and a half before COVID hit. So we were totally aligned to be online when COVID hit, and it was business as usual for our business and for our clients, because that's all they knew. That everybody was trying to figure out how to work Zoom and how to take their dance classes online and how to do all that. We'd been doing it for a year and a half. It was a complete answer to prayer. And if I wouldn't have persevered, and if I wouldn't have hung in there and come up with this new strategy, it would have been over. I would have been crushed by my competition. I would have been crushed by COVID. And it was the best risk I've ever taken.
Oh, to beers, listen to what Melissa's saying. When they zig, you zig. And then also just think outside the box. You don't have to do things the way everybody else does them or the way that you've always done them. Usually there's a different way. So I think that's so important. Melissa, mindset is a huge part of this, right? And getting through the whole thing and getting the right mindset. what do you do for mindset to get in touch with yourself, to get in touch with God?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I learned as a competitive gymnast athlete that I've totally taken with me, and I teach this to my clients and they teach it to their students, is visualization. So obviously, as a Christian, I pray and I lean on the Lord for everything. But a big part of what I do to be able to get my head in the game, to be able to see the results that I want, is I see the results I want in my mind first. So I was taught as a gymnast to close your eyes and visualize the trick, visualize the backflip on the beam, visualize the thing that you want to do. And what's interesting is when you first start doing this, I remember as a 15-year-old athlete, visualizing doing a back handspring on the beam, and I kept falling off the beam in my visualization because I got that negative reel that I have to overcome in my mind. So you got to keep practicing and practicing. And then eventually I would do the back handspring and stick it on the beam. Then I could do the back handspring and stick it with proper technique and do it flawless and perfect. And so you have to train it in your mind first before you can do it the real thing. And so I learned that as a student. And then with my business, especially in those difficult first 5 years where my competitor was stealing so much of my work, I visualized the success that I wanted. I visualized building the right syllabus, conducting my workshops properly and flawlessly. I visualized the success of my clients and them learning Acro, and them, like a lot of them are intimidated because Acro seems hard to learn and teach. And my whole main objective was to take the intimidation factor out of Acro. And so I would visualize that for my clients, like that they can do it and it's easy and it's flawless. And all of those things, really, I created it in my mind first. And so I still do that. I visualize what I want to have happen, and I pray to God to show me how to do it and to show me how to execute it. And those two things are my biggest tools that I use.
So good. I love how you said, I created it in my mind first. I think that is huge. And a lot of people aren't doing the visualization. Now, are you doing this every day? Or are you doing it just whenever you feel like doing it? What's your practice like?
If I was living a perfect life and doing all the things, I'd definitely be doing it every day, along with like my perfect diet and my perfect workout and my perfect read my Bible and being a good mom. No, I don't do it every day. Maybe one day when the kids move out, I'll have time to do it every day. But I do it regularly. I do it for sure whenever I know there's something I need to lean into. So if there's something big coming up and I need the extra support and I need to get my head in the game, I'm for sure visualizing. So definitely when something big is coming up, and more often if I have time or I'm able to.
So I would like to kind of pivot a little bit and talk about the move to Nicaragua and what that was like. Did you visualize that ahead of time, or what led to moving to Nicaragua?
Oh my goodness. I can't say that I visualized moving to Nicaragua. I did pray for answers of what to do. So another big challenge that came up along, there's a lot of major rocks in this story of things to overcome, but my husband was the primary breadwinner for our family. And we had a construction company when we lived in Calgary. He was a farmer and then a construction worker his whole life. He's used to, that hard labor kind of lifestyle, enjoys it. It was very successful. And my husband got a multiple sclerosis diagnosis. And his mom does have MS as well. Never occurred to us that would happen because he's a workhorse. He worked, very hard all the time. And then all of a sudden, he starts having symptoms, and it's progressed very fast. And he, in about a year of finding out about his MS, was totally not able to swing a hammer anymore. And I've been plugging along with my association on the side, kind of, not relying on that to support the family, but he was definitely supporting the family. And when we got to a place where he had to sell his business and we had to really come up with a new solution, that's when I knew that it was all on me. I had to go all in with the business. It had to support the family. And, that was a huge challenge. And that was at the same time as I was transitioning online with my business. So we actually had to move from Calgary, Alberta to British Columbia, which is the next province over, about 4 years ago. Okay, this is when he got his diagnosis. He got his diagnosis 5 years ago. And we made that move from Calgary, which was a big city, to Vernon, British Columbia, which is like a small town where I'm from, and my family was there. Knowing that it was going to be all on me and he'd be at home. Essentially, we were switching roles. He was going to be at home managing the household, and I was going to be at home too, working online. And so we did that. We sold this business. We moved to the neighboring province, and we lived there for a few years. And once we were settling into that, obviously it's a challenge that he has MS, and we manage it really well. We manage our lives really well, and he's doing well. There's a lot of things that he can't do that he used to be able to do, but he has new things that he can do now. But once we got to Vernon and we realized, like, wow, we really are location independent. We could go anywhere we want to. And we moved to Vernon because that was our living wherever we want to, because I wasn't in the city anymore and I didn't have access to the same, like videographers and advanced acrobats and all the things that I used in the city. We were like in the country now. On top of that, we're having a lot of challenges with my son. My son has ADHD. He has oppositional defiant disorder. They also gave him Asperger's diagnosis, which I don't actually believe in any of those diagnoses, but that's where we were at. And the problems were piling up, and our son was in complete chaos. And between our son being in chaos, struggling with my husband's MS, and just everything falling apart in Canada because of COVID, we needed to change something. We needed to switch things up and change something. And so we prayed for solutions. What do we do? How do I help my son and his future? How do we work with Mike's MS in a way that is going to be meaningful for him and not too overwhelming for me? And where can we live? Because our country is falling apart, it seemed. And I wasn't able to raise my kids the way I wanted to in those circumstances. And so we prayed about what should we do? And should we move again? And lo and behold, God showed us Nicaragua. Like literally, he just showed us. The joke is my husband didn't even know how to say Nicaragua. He'd call it Nicaragua because he couldn't quite get it right. And we're like, you're gonna move there, you gotta learn how to say it. And I had to like learn how to enunciate it. It's like, okay, yes, now confirmed, he can say Nicaragua. It was God showed us, move to Nicaragua. And so we did. We found a boarding school for my son that helps him get the help that he needs for his challenges. He's in Mexico right now, going to this amazing boarding school and getting the support that he needs. We moved to Nicaragua, and it was less about running away from everything we were dealing with back in Canada, and more like God was calling us to Nicaragua. Yes, we were healing because we were leaving a lot of difficult, challenging situations back home behind, but we more felt like we were being pulled to Nicaragua because we feel like God has a plan for us here. And so now we've been here this is our 7th month. And about a month ago, things started becoming more and more clear of why God has us here. And my son is doing amazing in his school. He'll probably join us in the next 6 to 12 months. And God's got us building a church here. And I never thought I would be doing that. It's crazy. On paper, the whole thing sounds crazy. But I tune in, I'm in tune, and I listen and I pray, and I just allow myself to be led. And I've got now the skills and the background to be able to support what he's got us doing now. And so it's really exciting. It's very fulfilling. And we're calling Nicaragua home probably now for the next few years. And we love it. We love it. It's amazing. It's so hot. I wish there was a break in the heat. But it's just so cool to live a life where you are, you're surrendering to the challenges and you're allowing yourself to be led. And that's how we live our lives.
So I think this idea of faith or blind faith, it can be hard, or we have the ego part of ourselves that wants to talk us out of it or think of a different way. So how do you listen to God, to your intuition, to what it's telling you, and not listen to the ego?
Honestly, for me, so I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a go-getter, I'm competitive. I like to be in control of the situation. And what I have realized since being a Christian is that when I try to control things, nothing works. When I surrender and I pray and I ask and I visualize and I let it go, then I allow it to unfold and to manifest. And it does. It does. It doesn't always happen right away, but it always unfolds. And so it's really just been turning off trying to control everything and surrendering to what is supposed to happen. And that's really hard to do if you are a control freak like I am, recovering out of. But that was been the biggest blessing of becoming a Christian, is letting go, trying to control the outcomes. And so I just ask and then I wait, and then God takes over. And that is honestly the biggest thing. And it is complete blind faith. But we were put through a season where we had no other choice but to trust. I didn't know what was going to happen with my son. He was going down a very scary path. I don't know what's going to happen to my husband. Is he going to be in a wheelchair next year? I don't know. Can I support my whole family? Am I like a hack Acro teacher when I thought that I knew what I was doing? No, none of that is, all of that is just me trying to worried because I can't control the outcome. And what I do now is I pray and I ask, and then I let it go. And I have 100% trust, because that's the only way that has worked for me. And I've tried every way.
So what have you learned throughout this process?
Just that, just trust. And you can't control things. Build your skills, like have a skill set, persevere, see your success, ask for what you need, and then let it go and wait for everything to unfold exactly how it's supposed to.
So I was going to ask, about manifesting and how you're talking about that, but it sounds like you just answered that, more of visualizing it and then letting it go and letting it come back to you.
Yes, absolutely. It really is just about that. See it, ask for it, and then let it go and wait for it to happen. And the thing is that when I do that, the answer that I get from God is 10 times better than anything else that I could have ever possibly come up with on my own. And that's just so cool, because I'm like an ideas person. I'm a kind of a keener go-getter. And when I try to really control all of that, it doesn't work. And so I just let it go. And what God does is 10 times cooler and awesome, better ideas than anything I could have come up with. So I really love that. I love seeing how things unfold. And like, I had no idea 7 months ago or 8 months ago that I would be living in Nicaragua, and God's like, build a church. I'm like an acrobatics person, and now he's got me working with a group of people we all came together. There's, people from different countries, and we have completely different backgrounds, and God brought us all together, and now we're building a church here. It's awesome. And a school to go with it. So it's really exciting what's happening right now. And I could have never planned this myself.
So was it within a month that you made that you thought about moving there and then made the decision to go?
Yeah, pretty much. More like 3 weeks, actually. Yeah. We had some criteria that were like, okay, if this happens and that happens, if this other thing happens and this doesn't happen, then we're going somewhere. And all of those things, lined up our criteria or whatever. And then we said, okay, we're going. Where are we going, God? And then we basically closed our eyes and opened up YouTube, and he showed us a video of San Juan del Sur, Nicaragua, there is a Jesus statue here that is the second biggest one in the world. Okay. The other biggest one is in Rio, right? And it's here. And this huge statue, it's right outside my window. The apartment we're in just worked out this way. We're directly below the Jesus statue. Did not plan that out. It totally happened. And he's pointing to the town of San Juan del Sur. And when we were spinning our wheels trying to figure out where we were going to go and where God was leading us, my husband said, let's pray. And we prayed, and I calmed down. I opened up my laptop, and we were on YouTube, and this video of Jesus pointing to this tiny little fishing village called San Juan del Sur, Nicaragua, showed up on my screen, and we both looked at each other and went, all right, that was pretty cool. I guess we're going to Nicaragua. And it's totally like blind faith worked out.
That's crazy that it just popped up on the video and then you just made the decision to go.
Right? I know. That's happened to me a few times. Anyway.
I think there's also something to say about listening, you know, because sometimes there's signs that point us to go a certain way and then we ignore it, but being open to listen or to receive is a huge part of it.
Absolutely. So like I've done that several times where I didn't listen, it didn't work out. And so I really had to get bounced around a lot and beat up a lot before I finally got the message, like, you need to let go of trying to control everything. Like, yes, have a plan. Don't be irresponsible, but you really just need to ask and then wait to receive. That's the biggest thing.
So one thing that I appreciate about you is just, like you said earlier, like you're bubbly, but you're also your confidence. And I know that's something that the O2B audience sometimes struggles with is confidence. How did you get your confidence, or what do you attribute to being so confident?
Failing miserably and picking myself up every time. I was not confident at all. I was a total wreck, actually. And confidence is a gift, and it only comes after we've been through a lot of very difficult challenges and kept going anyways, and, you know, learned from them. So I've seen a lot of people fall, but then just continue in their own like rebellion and not learn the lesson from it. And they never really progress. It's like, if you fail miserably, can you own that? Can you own it and see the lesson in it and move forward and use it as an inspiration to improve the next time? That's where confidence comes from, I think. And so if I seem confident, it's because I've had a million things go wrong that I had to overcome.
So good. I love that. So I know we're winding down here. What I wanted to ask you is if you have a tip for women to encourage women who are in the arena fighting for the life that they want, and then how we can connect with you.
Yes. Okay. So my best tip is don't ever quit. Never give up. Never, never, never give up. No matter what happens. If it seems like think, what's the worst possible thing that could happen? And go there. And if you're okay with that, like, go for it, you know, don't ever give up, because it's actually not failure. It's just learning. It's all just learning. And so every time you feel like, I can't do this, I want to give up. No, never give up. You know, that may mean maybe you're course correcting and doing something else. You know, like, you don't want to stick with something that's actually not going to make sense. But what I'm saying is never give up on yourself. You have to take the lesson in every single challenge and use it to make yourself better.
So good. And Melissa, how can we connect with you?
Well, you can find me, you can find me at my website, acrodanceteachersassociation.com. You can also find me on Facebook, Melissa Klassen. You can't miss it because it says Acro across the top. And those are the best ways you can find me.
Thank you so much, Melissa. You've been a total badass, and I've enjoyed hearing your story.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure being here.
And with that, we'll end our show. To all the badass women out there staying in the arena, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, own it and get after it. Wasn't that episode with Melissa amazing? I love her free spirit, confidence, and just kind of a go with the flow attitude. Now here's a quick recap. When they zig, you zag. Do the opposite of what your competitors are doing. Number 2, stop trying to band-aid every single problem. Rise above it and see the bigger picture. Number 3, put your personality, your personal flavor and style on everything, because that others cannot copy. Number 4, visualize what you want to do first and the success that you want to have. Melissa says that you create your success in your mind first. And number 5, let it go and stop trying to control the outcome. Build your skills, persevere, see your success, and ask for what you need, and let it go. If you loved this episode as much as I did, then head on over to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating and review. Every little review helps, and it helps other badasses just like you to find the show. So make sure to tune in on Thursday to hear 3 reasons why Melissa Klassen is so badass.
Now that you've listened to this episode of Ordinary to Badass, we want to hear from you. Go to our website, ordinarytobadass.com/podcast. and submit your own experience on how you took your life from ordinary to badass and get the chance to be on a future Spotlight episode of the show. That's ordinarytobadass.com/podcast. While you're waiting for the next episode of the show, wipe off the sweat, dust off the dirt, and get back in the arena.